says it's connecting, and there's little dots. I think it's. Does yours? Can you see? Does yours say connecting or
It says
anything?
connecting, yeah.
Okay.
And the little message is gone. So,
Yes. Okay. Great.
oh,
Well,
there we are.
there it is. Hi. Okay. So do you want to tell
Hello.
me your name and your, I guess, social, your like Substack? Yeah, your Substack.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Lindsay Nicole. I have a Substack that is Aluna's Resilience. I also, um, I'm a health coach, and Aluna's Resilience is a place to discuss everyone's resiliency. So, I'm happy to be here today and to get to know you, and as well for you to get to know about what I do.
Yeah, me too. And I was reading a little bit about Aluna, where you got it from. So with your daughter, the name, right?
Yeah, her and I were. We were just having a discussion, and she had come up with a Luna, which I was like, oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So once I looked it up too, it had to do with the moon and the cycles that we live in, and I thought it was a powerful name. So
Yeah.
Luna's resilience is perfect for us.
And we get so out of connection from the cycle, so it's important. You feel like to tap back into that power.
Yeah, exactly. And learning how to work with the cycles that like inevitably are going to happen.
Yeah.
With work, like we have project cycles that we work with that cause a lot of stress on us, and having a plan and knowing how to, oh, my dog's saying hello.
Hi.
um, Having a plan to deal with those, like you're able to work with them instead of trying to resist. Sometimes it might feel like you're resisting it. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's really important.
It's true. I mean, we have cycles, the seasons, and then our cycles. Do you tend to work with women more, or do you work both with men and women?
I've worked with both, but I have more women who come to me, um, more so, but I'm open to working for both. So
Yeah.
yeah, we all have different types of work cycles.
Yeah.
So, or life cycles too.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
what I was reading a little bit too, that you said you worked in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I was in Washington D.C. for a little bit. I was doing my grad degree there.
Yeah.
I have a master's of data science, and so when I finished that, I ended up moving back to North Carolina. But yeah, I worked there for quite a while. I lived there. That was my second time moving back when I went there for my grad degree. So I love it there. I love the people. Uh,
Yeah. And
but
that's where you started health coaching? You're doing training and then kind of morphed into health coaching?
yeah, so originally I had started personal training. I started in North Carolina, and
Yeah.
then when I was going to school, I moved to DC and finished school there for my bachelor's degree. And I
Okay.
was doing in-home training during school and while I was building a career in business as well. And um, I loved doing the in-home training with clients because it's a little bit more intimate. I get into their space
Yeah.
and kind of even get to see the environment that they work out in.
Yeah.
So just having that understanding of what they're working with, I'm able to go in and work with them there,
Yeah.
with the resources that they have rather than just at the gym. So I loved that. And then I took a break from training, and I worked for a little bit, and then I went back to school for data science, and really missed the one-on-one clients and being able to be a witness to people's transformation.
Mm.
And I also found that when you're personal training, you're kind of limited to those 30 minutes to 50 minutes of working out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of change that can happen there, but I know that a lot of clients really need um, that extra support, like the motivation piece,
Yeah.
because a big part of it was that my clients, when they stopped training with me, I found that they were going back to their other habits.
Right.
like the habits that they had before. So it wasn't a long-term solution for them. And when I discovered health coaching, you use motivational interviewing and you're able to implement some of those long-term like motivations.
Mhm.
And I find that now clients are able to sustain some of these habits that they want, and they're not totally dependent on a professional to have them.
Yeah. What's kind of some motivational interviewing questions that you
So,
ask?
motivational interviewing is really like understanding what the client's needs are
Mm.
and helping them uncover what is really motivating them to do something. Because sometimes someone might say, I want to lose, and I'm just going to say weight loss because it's easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, there is a reason for that underneath all of that. So when we're really like connecting that goal to what's motivating that person,
Mhm.
that's where the long-term changes are. So using motivational interviewing is digging deep into your why and
Mhm.
the reason that you want to make these changes, which is
Yeah.
really fascinating. And over time, when you really connect those, you can create a vision, and then that's where you get to like really dig deep into making sure that this is a long-term plan that's customized for you and what's
Right.
important to you.
Yeah, you're like if you don't actually care about getting in a bathing suit and looking amazing, but you're telling yourself that, you're not gonna do the workout because you're like, I don't actually that's not my real motivation, right? But if like for me it's being old and strong, being able to like get up and down off the floor and lift things and like grandchildren if I have them or other people's children, like just being strong, as an older person. And so yeah, once you can get to that, you're like, "Okay, I can go do this very annoying workout right now." Like
Right. And under that, you're like, well, I don't just need to be strong, I need to have strong bones
mhm.
to
Yep.
keep me up. Like, I need to have the muscles and the mobility to be able to lift heavier as I get
Mhm.
older so that I can keep that independence. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like a layer to your goals, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you feel like you bring some of your data research and stuff, that side into the coaching?
I'm
Or
start yeah, I'm starting to. I have like I love data. I love what it can tell you.
yeah.
So using that to be able to communicate reasons for things happening, I it's I want to write more about it. So that was the point of Luna's Resilience too, was so that I could actually take some of the data that's available and speak to why do we need to implement these habits? Because
Nice.
there's data behind it.
Mhm.
And especially like I have a big passion about women and health data because in the data and medical community, women have been like I don't know, become outliers
Hmm.
to men's data and things like that in
Yeah.
comparison. So I wanted to be able to speak to that and even possibly build a database that's specific to women too, so that there is more data. Like it is
Yeah.
really important to advocate for women to have more data that's specific to them and
Mhm.
ensure that there is research that's continuing that's for women only. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of the like there's a big message recently about menopause and now there's
Perimenopause,
this
yeah.
research. Yeah, and it's because there's more research for it in the last few years that we're able now to understand what it really means.
Which is wild. I'm like, it's 2024 and we're just getting around like let's do some research on women's hormones. Like we have been around since the beginning, like
Yeah.
create babies in life, but let's not research that. I don't quite get that. But I'm
Yep.
glad it's changing and the tide is turning. And it's also a lot of information, all the perimenopause and hormones, and it's a lot, and you have to kind of figure it out on your own still in this early stage of research search. I have some friends who are kind of diving into that, one who's a nurse practitioner. uh,
Hmm.
yeah, she's hormone health, I think is her thing. She's in Nevada. And then a friend who's a Pilates instructor, but she's really like diving into all the hormones. So
Wow, yeah.
yeah.
It it affects a lot of, like, different parts of your life, and talking about going back to cycles,
Hmm.
there's a hormonal cycle that starts to shift and change that kinda tells you at what stage you're at of perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause, and
Yeah.
understanding what those are, you can work with them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm in 40, I'm gonna be 41. So I'm entering like perimenopausal land, and it is a new land. Like, so yeah, it's and then I'm still like weaning from breastfeeding. So
Oh, yeah.
the combination is, it's a good time. It's a good time. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's important for you to understand that too, because if something just doesn't feel right, to
Hmm.
understand, like, where am I at?
I know when I go to do weight training and stuff, I'm like, is it a heavy day? Is it a stretch day? Like, and that's a lot of
Yeah.
when I work with my clients too. It's like, well, what's your level of pain today? Are we gonna push you? Are we gonna be more restorative and do child's pose and like some good back stretches? So yeah,
Mhm.
it is sort of that cycle too, and like seeing where people are at in their bodies and their minds.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and sometimes, like, where you are in your cycle and how it's changing might depend on, like, maybe because there's research now that um, women are more susceptible to dehydration, like
Mm.
right before their period. They shouldn't be around a lot of heat and things like
Interesting.
that. So you shouldn't, like, go for a run in the middle of the summer if you're within that time. So, like, those types of things are really important to understand for
Yeah.
women, and even performance if you want to get into that. But just, if you're not feeling it, there's probably a reason behind it.
That's funny because so I was doing all these hormone panels, and one of the things she was telling me was that I was dehydrated because I've been having periods
Mm,
way too often. So that's interesting. And then I
yeah.
just got on some like trace mineral electrolytes, and I mean, like, I'll wake up in the morning, my heart is just like, it feels like I'm like, is this anxiety? We're just gonna breathe through it and say a
Mhm.
mantra. But I'm like, literally, everything's dizzy. I can't see straight. And I started taking those, and it is a game changer. Like, it's
Wow.
and yeah, just dehydration and like not having enough electrolytes. I'm like, those are important. Like, and it's a simple thing to correct if you know that.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
yeah, but I
That
love
makes a huge difference.
yeah, it does, and I love that you have a data kind of brain for it. I come from a more creative. I feel like data's creative in its own way too, but like a less logical standpoint. I'm more like a feeling oriented creative human. Um, so yeah, I just love that we connected, and then when you told me about that, I was like, cool. We've actually come at things in a different way, but similar, which is fun.
Yeah, and one thing about data too is it also, like, helps you understand you're not alone, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, if there's all this data to back it up, you're not alone in what you're experiencing, which I
yeah.
really cool.
You can build community around that, like you were saying with
Yeah,
the
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, Michelle is here, and she was going to do this with us, and I'm wondering
Ooh.
if we hang up. Oh wait, can I just invite someone? Oh look, let's see. Oh my gosh, look at us learning how to do this. This is fun. Let's see if we can get on there. Um,
That's awesome.
I know, because I don't. Do you know who Katie is? My friend Monica's on here. I see that. Hi,
No. Hi, Katie.
hi, Katie. Hi,
And
Hello.
hi,
Monica. Hi,
Michelle. Hi,
Christine.
everyone.
Hello,
You made
hello.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was just about to message you. I was like, the live link expired.
Yeah. It
Oh,
didn't let us start unless we canceled you out. So it's good to know we can start and then you can join in. Interesting.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
Um, and so do you want to? Okay, love you. Okay. Yeah. My daughter's sleeping and my husband's leaving. So gonna grab the baby monitor. We were just introducing ourselves. I don't even do I know your name? I don't think I know your name. Michelle
Me?
and Laura, Lauren,
Lindsay?
Lizzie,
Lindsay, yeah.
Lindsay. Okay,
Yep.
it was like I saw your handle and I was focused on that. So
Oh, because of Aluna's resilience. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I got confused about that at first because I would try to tag people and I'm like, what's their name and their
And their
Substack?
Substack.
Yeah. So anyway, Michelle, Lindsay was introducing herself and saying kind of what her Substack is about a little. And so if you want to do the same thing, let me just grab a baby monitor, but I can hear you if you want to start. I'll be right back.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I started working in B2B SaaS as a tech marketer, but then in recent years, I started my own company and doing more like marketing consulting as a tech marketer would, and I was doing freelance copywriting. But just last year, I started doing more like marketing coaching for and consulting for solopreneurs and like coaches and creatives. But like last fall, as I was connecting with Danielle, like I think I had a Substack note that went viral talking about being a cycle breaker. And I was like, oh, okay, I think it's resonating. Like this, I guess the more vulnerable part of me. So
Yeah.
now I'm leaning more towards like maybe I talk more about what Danielle was saying was like heart-centered marketing, like authentic marketing
Mm.
versus the typical things you would see on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
which is more like tech bro vibes or sales bro.
Yes.
So
I don't like at all. It makes me, I like see it over and over and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do it. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping to pivot my Substack more into versus just about my solopreneurship journey, which is what I was writing for like last year.
And
Yeah.
heart-centered marketing is what in your like if you were to
Ooh, I
give
would
me
say recently I'm more leaning towards like more like soul aligned things that's aligned and natural with you versus everyone saying like do an email list or like do these funnels or post every day, like all those typical things. But like it's both for me, it's like heart led, but also like grounded in like strategies and practicality. Because I feel like you still need some of that and
yeah.
not just kind of like floating around.
Oh yeah, I'm a
I
big
go,
floater. I will just like this is a floating this was like I just want to connect with women and we'll see what happens. And I'm like, okay, what that's it. That's all I got, you know?
yeah.
I know there's a strategy to it too that you need to kind of have because I write books and I do functional training and you can't just write books and not talk about them, because
Yeah.
they're not marketed that way. Like,
Yeah. I
yeah.
see it more as just amplifying kind of what you have to share versus I'm trying to sell something or I'm trying to push something. I think
Yeah.
when you ground in that heart space and intention, it you people can feel it. Like words have
Yes.
vibrations and power and people can feel your energy in that way.
I like that. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to learn. I'm like, just stand because I'm like, you don't spend, or I don't spend 5 years writing a book to then put it out into the world for it just to sit there. But I also am
Mhm.
not like, you should buy my book, like, because that feels marketing and salesy. But like, yeah, but I wrote a book about healing head and neck pain. And I wrote it to help people heal head and neck pain. So it's like, it's genuine. It has over 10 years of experience in it. Um, but yeah, it's talking about it, I guess, which is part of what I'm doing. I'm gonna pull up my book. It's just very awkward and it's
Yes.
right. But this is like my book baby. I hired somebody to do pictures in it,
Oh, that's
Oh,
so cool.
and
yeah.
then there's like these little spots where you can write down. It's kind of like a little journal inside, which just I know it was very
That's
exciting when it
cool.
came together. Yeah,
It's pretty practical
Yeah.
right.
versus just telling you what to do. You can reflect or you can take notes.
That's why I don't like this is the problem and solution and I know all the answers. It's like the answers are inside your body and you just have to connect to them, and this is like bringing it back to people and them kind of figuring out like why is that hurting? And there's like a whole chapter on working with practitioners too, because there's so many people who can help, but
Mm-hmm.
there's also practitioners you could be working with for a long time who are not the best for you, and how do you know that when you're not a professional? So there's
Mhm.
a whole section that's like, is this person good for you or not?
I feel like more people should talk about that because
Yeah.
then, but I feel
Agreed.
like people's subject it's pretty subjective, like what's good or what's
It
bad.
is. It is. Yes.
So,
Yeah, like what the flags are that you should be looking for with practitioners
Yes.
and not just take them for their word. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
a
There's
good
a
point.
whole questionnaire where it's like, if you're saying yes to these questions, like a flag should pop up. And it's not that they're a bad practitioner; they just might not be right for you. And
I literally have an Excel sheet when I was looking for a therapist. And
I
then
love that.
I put them across and compare all of them because I feel like daunting. Like I go to all these websites, like I can't remember like what you all do.
Right.
So
Right.
It's a process. Yeah.
It's
even
true.
I feel like not a lot of people do that. I find even in my social network, they're just like whoever's closest and whoever's like, oh, you guys say it's good, and then I'll go to that person. But I'm
Yeah.
like, it might be good for them, but not might be good for you. Like the vibes don't click, or what they can
Exactly.
help you with is
Mm-hmm.
different.
And they
Or
might even help a little bit at first, and then that's it. Like, you don't get over another hump if there's another thing happening, and you stick with them because they helped you a little and you feel like you owe
yes.
them something, but
Oh my gosh.
you
Yeah.
don't. It's like, just move. There is someone out there who can get you past that point. Um, and I'm always like that with my clients. I'm like, if there's someone better, but then they're just, they're comfortable. Like, we're comfortable together. And they feel safe, which is great. Like, it's a good fit, I think. So
Oh my gosh. It's like a mama bird saying you can
I know,
fly now.
I know. I'm always like, it's okay. Go fly. They're like, no, no. See you Monday. I'm like, all right, all right. Yeah, it's true.
Mm.
So,
I I
yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering if Lindsay could share what she was doing because totally missed that at the
Yeah, I'm gonna
beginning.
grab a charger. Will you share? 'Cause my phone's not.
Okay. Yeah. I'll give you, because I kind of like gave the long description, so I'll give you the summary. So I have a Substack. It's Aluna's Resilience, and I am a health coach, and
Mm,
I talk a lot about cycles and working with the cycles in our lives,
mm.
specifically like with work cycles as well, because not a lot of people will plan in how to handle some of those like project cycles, which can totally throw off your health routines, or just they mess with your schedule. So having a plan that you can have going into it, knowing that this big project's going to come up, I'm going to be working longer hours, or I might be traveling, or things like that, and going in and making sure that you know how you're going to maintain the things that are important to you, which can also include like time with family, or making sure that you're getting some decompression time, like to reduce stress and to still have a life in the middle of all of it. So that's some of the things that I talk about on there, but also just being resilient as a human and being able to work with what life throws at you. My background is I was a personal trainer. I did in-home personal training for a few years, and then took a break from that to go back to school. But coming back to health coaching has been a different journey, because I've been able to take that experience as a personal trainer, working with clients, and then being able to also I have a master's of data science, so I get to kind of marry it in this, in health coaching, and talking about the data as well as being able to maintain and sustain long term fitness goals or health goals using health coaching techniques.
That's a very interesting combination. And it reminds me like
Right?
it's both like the science and like also working with your body. So it's more like aligned with yourself. So it reminds me of what I talk about, like the seasons in business and life. Like it can't always be summer, which I feel like the tech industry is finally learning because right now it's like the winter in tech because there's so many layoffs. But
Mm-hmm.
it's been summertime for way too long and everyone's trying to harvest and now everything's collapsing.
Yeah, and
So,
and it's such a reminder to like get back to what's important to you, right?
yes.
Like, okay, maybe we can't control all the things that are happening out there. So coming and looking at like what do I actually want to do and what can I do with this, to like help the world or help people.
You
Yeah.
guys are
Yeah.
reminding me too of the pandemic. When the pandemic happened, it's like everything shifted where you suddenly everyone stopped and indoors, and you have to
Mhm.
be still and start to reflect, and or just like, you know, go online and be overly busy and crazy. But it was kind of a similar vibe, it's like what's happening right now, I feel like is very, it's reminding me of kind of of COVID times, uh,
Hmm.
yeah, when
Yeah.
everything just shifted.
Quickly, and we
Yeah.
didn't know what to expect or what to do. Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people are losing jobs, like in the tech world, and the people who care for elderly. Um, yeah, all everywhere, everywhere. And people who are undocumented are losing jobs, it's happening a lot. So,
A lot of changes for sure.
hmm, yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard something about Trump cutting DEI stuff, or like
Yes.
that also caused a lot of layoffs. I was
Hmm.
like, oh, what's going on? Because I'm in Canada, so I'm just like,
I
oh,
was going
what's
to
going
ask,
down?
where is
Oh, you're
everybody?
in
Okay, you're in
Canada.
Canada. And where are you now, Lindsay?
I'm in North Carolina, but I'm from Canada.
Oh, really?
Oh,
So
Yeah,
funny.
that's
I'm in
funny.
Toronto.
Okay, I grew up in the Yukon in Whitehorse,
Oh,
but my
nice.
family now is migrated to Vancouver and Calgary.
Oh, but
Yeah.
you're in the States now. Oh, yeah, you're in North
Yeah, but
Carolina.
I've lived in the States for the last 15 years.
Nice.
Hmm.
Okay.
But I
What's
go
it
home.
That's
like so I'm in California, and um, yeah, we have and where I'm at is a very, we have this big Hispanic community and also a huge, like,
Mm,
affluent white community. And so uh, it's just an interesting place to be right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
is
There's
the
my,
fires contained?
so I'm in Northern California. So
Oh, okay,
that's more, yeah, it was like 8 hours south. But yeah, so last I heard, the fires were contained. Um,
okay.
but yeah, just add that
Crazy
into the
start.
mix. Yeah. But about the
Yeah.
DEI thing, what I've heard too is like Target, Amazon, and Walmart, right? All three of those are like the top three that I heard that took away the diversity, inclusion, and what is it?
Equity, I think.
Yeah, equality. Yes.
Equality.
Yep.
And yeah. Um, so yeah, I stopped shopping at Target. The only thing I could do is like not shop at Target and Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
vote
so
with your dollar. So whoever
pretty
you're.
much. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Shop more locally. So wandering around the streets, finding new places to go. Yeah.
Looking for the local places. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think same thing with Canada because Trump was gonna do the tariff on Canada as well, like 25%, but I think they struck a deal last minute. So then
Oh,
now it's postponed for another month. So we'll see
yeah.
what happens in a month. But
Yeah.
everyone already had a made in Canada list versus US list.
Oh,
I was like,
shit.
oh, we don't make a lot. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of alternatives here. But yeah.
And they're booing the the American national anthem at hockey games in Canada and
Oh
at the
wow.
NBA games as well. What I've
Interesting.
heard. So
Yeah. I mean, I get it. There's not. I have my friend. She just shared these cards with me. They're like cards for undocumented people to know their rights, and
Mm,
that's kind of the big thing that people are trying to spread around here. And my son's school every day is sending out like, know your rights, come to our meetings, you're safe here. Like, it's just creating a lot of fear, and
yeah.
for those communities. And yeah, I actually wanted to share where those cards are if someone needs them.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Because they were saying they're just holding these cards up in their cars, and they can't do anything because they say, um, like, I don't wish to speak with you. answer your questions or sign or hand you any documents based on my Fifth Amendment rights under the United States Constitution. And it's just everything that they need to know. So they're called Red. What is it? ILRR. ILRC.org. And then it's
Ah,
/red/cards.
Oh, that's
Oh,
great.
yeah, I'll write it in the message too. But I think, yeah, the more people know their rights, the like at least they have something to kind of lean into, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, sharing that information is so helpful.
like to me, this is already marketing. That's what it
Okay,
is, though.
great.
That's just I feel like
Marketing
that's
your
what it is.
rights?
No, like marketing is just like sharing what you know, right? I feel like
Oh,
a lot of time when we think marketing or sales, I feel like it's a certain mindset, but I'm like even just you sharing that, it's like you're marketing for that website to
That's
share
true.
the
I'm really good at marketing for other people. That's why I was like, oh, let's talk and tell me about you guys. And then, but it's for myself that I'm like, I don't want to do that. That sounds awful. You know, it's not.
well, on that note, because Michelle and I already talked about ourselves, why don't you
Yes.
tell us about what you
This is true.
do?
This is in line with my theory. I am a functional movement coach and I'm an author and I'm a mom. And so mostly right now I'm online and I work with older people, a lot of older people. I have some younger ones too, and they're all fun in different ways. And I work outside at the park sometimes. So I do strength training, mobility, yoga, help a lot of people with low back pain and neck pain. And
I
then
totally
when
need
I'm not
that.
doing that, what'd you
Yes.
say?
I was like, I totally need that. And I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of tech people need that because we have like tech neck,
Right?
like
So I actually
Yeah.
created a program that's for head and neck pain. It's like 6 weeks long. It's online. It was for tech people. And then after I did all the work of creating it, I was like, well, I don't want to market this. So it's just
oh,
sitting there and it has like,
okay, we gotta
yeah,
chat about that.
yes.
Yeah, it needs to get out.
I know. That's part of my mission, getting that out and then getting my book out with it for the neck pain. And then on the side of that, I wrote a romance book, which was really fun and has
Oh.
nothing to do with the rest of the things, so it's harder to market. And then I wrote a poetry book, which is also off topic. Um,
Mm,
but both of them are kind of about, I feel like all my stuff falls under mental health in some way and
Yeah.
like wellness. So the romance book is about like a controlling guy, like when you're in your 20s and you're like, I just want to fall in love and be taken away from all the pain in the world. And then you fall for these complete assholes who are controlling and
Mhm.
narcissistic. So
Yes.
that's what that book is about. It's really fun to read. It goes fast. And if you lived that in your 20s, you're like, oh, yes, I remember that feeling. um, and
Yes.
then, yeah.
oh,
And then the poetry book is like a lot about, I went through depression and things with my head and neck pain. I had a traumatic brain injury.
mm,
And uh, and so I went through a year. I went through a lot of depression, but this poetry book kind of has all of that, but humor and then a lot of light in it because my mom died when
mm.
I was young. And so in the book, it just feels like she's kind of the light that comes through it. So, yeah, those are the three books that I wrote on the side. And then I'm writing one right now, which is it's about mom life during a pandemic. And I'm trying to finish it
Mm.
now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear more about them and read them.
Yeah. I'll grab one. I'll show you the other one.
I love it because I feel like as humans, there's the business stuff we work on, and there's also like the creative pursuits. And I feel like I'm trying to figure out what my creative projects will be, but it feels like you have a good balance.
Yeah.
I just am
Oh, I
I'm
love it.
actually very creative and I'm always trying to think of ways to support my creativity aside from like,
Well,
yeah,
and creativity is such a big part of healing and wellness. Like
Hmm.
it's your way of expressing yourself
it's
and
true.
a lot of times the way that you do that can help you heal in different ways.
I agree. Yeah,
So
I
you
agree.
can't ignore it. Like we're all
Right.
creative in some capacity, so being able to
Yeah.
have your career that has creativity in it, it's just part of who you are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, if I just was to go all in on fitness and make it all about money and like selling things, I just would be a very unhappy person. That's not
Mm,
like I actually
nope.
genuinely care about humans and connecting with my family and having time, you know, to write for my own mental health. And yeah, it matters. Which is why when I connected with both of you, I was like, because Michelle reached out right away and she was like, "Do you want to talk on a Zoom?" I was like, sure. I don't know. And I haven't had a lot of extra time lately. And then, yeah, and then Lindsay, you said like, we have a lot in common. I started reading your stuff, and I was like, we do. Like, let's just
Yeah.
talk. And then I circled back to Michelle. So I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, I'm glad we all connected and I can see how we're all very similar.
I
I
know. Yeah,
love
you
making
guys.
internet friends. So
Yes.
Same.
Yes.
I'm not afraid of DMing people.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, you were very okay. Let's talk. I'm like, oh, okay, this is different. But that
Yeah.
feels. It felt heart led. It didn't feel salesy and like, oh, I'm trying to like rope you into something, which I remembered and I circled back around because I was curious. Like, I think there is power in that.
I think that's becoming because I had other chats through that Substack note about cycle breaking. Like I DM people too, people DM me, and then I think people were like kind of also surprised. It's like, oh, you just want to get to know each other. I'm like, yeah, like I have
Yeah.
nothing to. Well, if I can help you, sure, but like I'm just here getting to know another human one on one, and they're like, oh, that's interesting. I'm
It's,
like, oh, like I
it's
think
true. They're
people
like,
are so
wait,
jaded. They're like,
yeah,
why do you want to talk to me? I was just like, I just want to make friends.
yeah. It's true. It's true. People think
Mhm.
you have an ulterior motive, instead of just wanting to connect and
Yeah.
share. Yeah. Which,
Which
Yeah,
is
when Bill
bizarre when I feel like with tech, I just feel like we're both connected and disconnected at the same
hmm
time.
yeah.
hmm yep.
Yeah.
That's actually, I got off of Instagram in January because I was like, it's just completely disconnecting me from my body and everything. Like I have no room to be creative or write or like nothing good is coming from it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just cut this out and lean in here a little. And this feels great. So I'm like, I can talk to people. Like that sounds fun and hear what you're doing. But yeah.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever done this before too, like DMing someone and like being able to build a relationship there and here we are on live. Like I've never done that on Instagram or anything else. Like I feel
Right.
like the purpose of Substack is different. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
It
with
feels like
you.
it could go both ways, right? It's like
Mhm.
sometimes if I'm in notes too much, I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm using this as a checkout situation instead of like going on and reading someone's post, which
Connecting.
I love. I'm like, no, I want to read and then responding to them and actually caring and connecting, versus just getting in the doom scroll situation. Like,
I
yeah,
feel you. I felt like I replaced, there was one point I'm like, am I just on Substack notes versus threads? I feel like it's the same thing. I just
yep,
changed platforms.
yep.
Right.
Yeah. And everyone's saying, like, when you get on Substack, it's like kind of similar. You see all these like market here and notes here and this, that. And it's the first thing that kind of can't comes at you. But then when you look towards other things or post different, you start getting, into a different world, which I like. It's like
Yeah.
more
Yeah, and I've never
creatives and yeah.
yeah, being drawn to reading other people's like posts and things like that too is that's one of the reasons I like notes is because there is more of a like exploration to read what other people are writing.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really get that with Instagram or any of the other accounts. It's kind of like in your face, this is what it is, but
Yeah.
you get to go and dive into someone's thoughts and like they put a lot of effort behind it.
Yeah.
Hearing that.
And I feel like you can't it's like on Instagram, I can get into that comparison world, where you're just
Mhm.
like, can you just scrolling and you can just kind of start to turn in on yourself. Where here, you're just like, I'll be diving into someone's world, reading their whole post and the comments and how it's affecting people. And it's just different. It's like, wow, this person's having an impact on people. That's
Mhm.
amazing. And then I can kind of step out of it and not be like, well, why am I not doing those things? It's like because because there's not just image after image repeating that kind of, you know what I
I
mean?
would I think like it's because Instagram is more set up to be like dopamine hits and
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Even now they're turn but it's interesting. They went from like reels is like 30 seconds or a minute. Now it's gonna be 3 minutes. And so everyone's moving towards long form again. But I'm
Mhm.
like, it's because they're starting to realize maybe that's not health. Well, they probably knew it's not healthy.
Oh
They
yeah,
just want their
sure.
users to be on their platform. But I think more and more people are creating craving like depth versus
Mhm.
just like quick hits.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like the Substack people I feel like are definitely more deep and thoughtful and intentional. Like people actually read your whole post and leave
Yeah.
thoughtful comments.
Yeah.
Versus
Yeah.
Instagram is like funny meme or something
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
just like I'm not really connecting with you.
Yeah.
So
And this is such a time to protect your nervous systems too, because there
Mhm.
is so much like out there that like because I'm kind of what you said, like I'm more drawn to things that aren't gonna pique my dopamine because I wanna like I don't wanna feel like that. I
Yeah.
wanna
yeah.
connect and I wanna hear like I wanna play the long game when it comes to connections and seeing whatever everyone's doing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. Plus, then I didn't see it, but I heard Trump is everyone's friend on Facebook now. When
What?
that's
So
like a thing. And so, yeah. And then just knowing that and knowing that the control that's over Instagram and Facebook, I'm like, okay, we're done. I'm done. I don't want anything to do with it. It's like, bye. I also
yeah,
don't have hundreds of thousands of followers or anything, so I have no real investment happening. But so that helps.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For some people, it's not that easy. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michelle, how do you work with people? Do you work like, yeah, how do you work with people?
I've honestly been resting. And then so I'm slowly emerging. So it's great that we're chatting now. I'm trying to figure out what's the next best way to support people. But I used to do more on one-on-one, and
Mhm.
then I was exploring more like group vibes. But now I'm thinking I do more like long term with people because I feel like I do a lot through one-on-one, like a few sessions at a time. But I'm finding more I don't know if you guys find this, but I feel like a lot of you of my past clients, they're like, "Oh my gosh, so many good things come out of our session," and then life hits them. And
Mm,
then they would come back a few months after, and they're like, "I didn't really get much done." So I feel like a lot of them have been saying, and others I've seen online are like, they need more accountability. Like even
mhm,
if just someone checking in or helping them prioritize or like organize their marketing and business. Cause I think it can get pretty overwhelming. Like you can create the stuff, but how do
mhm,
I have that strategy and take those steps to get it done? I think
mhm.
that's very overwhelming, right? Like
Yeah.
I have moms as clients too. So when you're saying like there's toddlers and stuff, I was like, oh, that's okay. Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
that's just how life is, right? You can't like try to run a business and ignore your baby. Like,
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
It
it's
doesn't
No.
finding
work.
what works for you because I find in the tech world, the people who, especially the guys who come and like teach people, they're so used to a very masculine way of doing things.
Mm,
And so when Lindsay was talking about cycles, like that's, I also talk to my clients about like the hormones and how your energy peaks and things like that, right? Because
Yeah.
yeah.
people just think we're supposed to be on 24/7. I'm like, guys can do that, no problem. But as females, I feel like we have like emotional labor or like even I have to go grocery shopping, I have to cook meals, I have to do laundry. Like I have all these other household labor that I feel like I'm sure there's guys who do that too, but I feel like they don't
Yeah.
talk about that if they do.
Yeah.
But I'm like, those eat up time. So how do I do that while I do like my business and all these other things, right? Especially
Mhm.
if you can't afford to have like nannies or like other support. I don't think there's a lot of resources out there to teach people to do things that centers around you versus the other way, you
Yeah.
know?
That's why I
Yeah.
spiral, because I'm like, I have such a limited amount of time to do any amount of marketing, and because that's not, yeah, it doesn't. If it's not fun or enjoy, if I'm not connecting with someone or doing something that feels purposeful, I'm like, what is the point of this thing? And I'll just talk myself out of it and start like creating. I'll be like, I'll just make this fun post. And then I get lost in that. And I'm like, well, I did
Mm.
nothing for 2 hours. Like, that was not good. And I didn't have the time to not do anything, you know? So accountability
Yeah.
is huge, I think,
Mhm.
for and keeping people like having a target. You're like this to this, and then can know you can see results. That's one of my other things. Like with Instagram, there were never results. Like you could post, I could post reels and things all day, but it wasn't like, oh, now people are going to my books, or finding my program. Like that was not happening. So
Mm. Yeah, exactly. I think streamlining it so that, like you said, like doing things are more fun and enjoyable. I think that just means things are more aligned with your soul. Like
mm.
that
That's
sparks
what I liked
joy.
about what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of the marketing, even the things I learned in tech, it's too corporate. Like
Mhm.
I feel like it's too masculine energy. And
Mhm.
I think there's a time and place. It's not like masculine versus feminine energy. I think you need a bit of both. You can't over index in one. But
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes it's leaning too hard to one side that
Yeah.
we hear all the time. And I don't know if you guys felt that, like back in the days, I would feel like I'm not doing enough. Like I'm not good enough. Like why
Oh,
am I not there yet?
yeah.
Um, but I'm like, I'm comparing myself to all the other tech bros in the industry, which is not healthy either.
Right.
Mhm.
So
That's what all
yeah.
social media I feel like does. It's like someone's always, has this many followers or has this much of is doing so much more that you're always in a position of like, oh, I'm not doing enough, if you're that type of person, which I am. So like,
Yeah. And I
And
think it's too extraction, like the capitalistic society, it's like extracting from everyone, like every single human being, versus like what are you really giving and nourishing? Like I think about being in community, like when you're helping one person who can help many other people, like
mhm.
that kind of thoughtfulness and intention and purpose, which goes beyond just a transaction. Like you bought 10 sessions from me and let's get
Yep.
this done
Yep.
versus like how are you doing, like how are you feeling, how do we adjust.
Hmm.
yeah, there is a journey in when you have clients too. Like you go on it with them. Like you
Yes.
celebrate with them all the wins and just being able to be a witness to their journey is such an honor. Like I find that when I I learn from my clients and they help me to think about things and they help me learn more about how I can help people in different ways. So it's there is a exchange for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I, I feel like for both of you, when you're doing more like movements related or like the fitness side, I feel like that is very direct impact. Like you see how like they're pain free or like they're more fit or like that's actual versus like here I am doing 10 sessions for you and that's it.
Yeah. Like, you do get to see the results of people getting their stuff out there though. And
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I'm lucky I get to I've worked with people for many years. And so I'm like, dang, my old people are strong. Like they do workouts that I'm doing. I'm like, okay. And it's great because that's my goal is to be old and be able to move and not have pain. And
Mhm.
so it's cool. And sometimes I'm like, dang, I need to push them more. And you gotta find that edge because they are old still, So like you don't want to hurt them, but also I heard one of my teachers said, don't dig their grave for them. And
Mm,
so I think of that a lot. And I'm like, okay, we've done a lot of exercises on your back today. You need to stand up. Like you are stronger than this. But I personally, I'm like, I just want to lay on the floor and do my exercises. So, yeah. Anyway, it's a balance. Like
yeah.
For
Can't
sure.
do too much one or the other.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That just seems
Mm.
like what we're all kind of saying, the balance of both.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
But I
I
do.
Yeah.
I was gonna say about like kind of what Lindsay was saying earlier about cycles. Like I do find balance changes as we go. Because I find a lot of people think it's like, oh, it's 50-50, like it's 50 life, 50 work. I'm like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Maybe right now you need to take care of your kid, like, and then you need to take a step back from your business. But I think that's also like the reality check sometimes people need because they're just like, oh, I gotta keep pushing. Because like there's so much of a hustle and productivity culture that our value is and self-worth is tied to that. Like even for me, this period when I'm resting for the last couple of months, I felt so guilty like not posting on Substack or Instagram and all these things. I'm like, I just have nothing else. I don't have anything in me right now to give. So I gotta like recalibrate myself first before I can give myself right. But a lot of people
Yeah.
are like, you gotta still be on, even if you still feel off. I'm like, that's like the road to burnout.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have nothing left to give, then what are you giving? You're not
Yeah.
able to show up in your best form, which
Yes.
There's
that
this
doesn't feel authentic.
there's this quote that says, give the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. Or self-care is giving the
Oh,
world the best
Mm,
of you
I
instead
like
of
that.
yeah. I think about that a lot when I'm like, okay, I'm disconnecting, I'm leaving my body, I don't want to work out, but then I'm like, oh, I'll just do another thing for my business. It's like, okay, is that really is that really where the energy needs to go right now? So
mhm.
yeah, filling your own cup and like taking those breaks.
Yes.
It's important. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I'm working on
And
a program right now that it's a 5-day jump start that I haven't named it yet, but it's kind of that reconnection with yourself like throughout the week that you're like you're getting into heat, so you're like either in the sauna or you're taking a bath every day for a minimum of 20 minutes. You're really being mindful about your nutrition for those few days and journaling throughout. So it's not necessarily like about weight loss or maybe some other like heavy fitness goals. That's a major change. It's more like coming back into that reconnection with yourself to start over again. And it's like the goal of it is to reduce stress, and
Mm.
it's great to do like if you are in one of those crazy work cycles, or like you're talking about tech communities where sometimes you have to code like for 10 hours and these things, they're not a priority. So
I'm
being
like,
able to have
speaking
that
of priorities, my daughter just woke up and my
fun.
son is home, so I have to go. And she's crying. I love you both, though. I
Oh,
loved this conversation.
yeah, this has been awesome.
I will email you.
All right, thanks so much for
Okay.
the invite.